Today we're talking about 3 multi-tool dangers you really need to avoid, and I hope this helps you and maybe save someone from making some bad mistakes. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is actually the Gerber center drive, and there's a couple things with this that you really need to know about. Now, one of the things probably most of you know about at this time is that when you're trying to cut small objects, if you're not careful, this bit driver holder right here at the end will get in the way, and then these pliers will actually not close all the way completely. You can see how there's still some opening right there, but then when you push this out of the way, they close completely for that ultra fine touch. That is very, very important that you know about that, or you can be ready to throw away these pliers and consider them junk. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is actually wire cutters. This is one of Gerber's Achilles heels right here. So the original Gerber center drive comes with these carbide cutters that they advertise as lasting far longer than other ones because they're 3-sided. If one side gets dull, you can switch it to another side. That's if it lasts that long, because carbide is brittle, so these break all the time. My brother has one that he uses, and he just asked me, he said, "Hey, do you have an extra set? Because mine broke." That's a very, very common issue. Now, several people have come up with a solution for this, and at multitool.org forum, they had mentioned it. Also, Max Level EDC made a great video about it as well. But I want to just mention some things you really need to be aware about. So the solution is actually go on Amazon. There is the Arthur R. Warner Company store, where I believe these are made in the US, and you will actually buy the TCMW-2-1.5-1 high-speed steel indexable inserts for metal lathe turning. Now, these are sold individually. They're fairly expensive. They are essentially $20 now per cutter. So that means to replace these, you're essentially paying $40. So it's a little bit of an expensive fix. But again, if you're tired of breaking these carbide inserts, this is a good solution. Now, with these in the current state, I can cut thin wire like so. Then I actually have been able to cut coat hanger as well. There we go, coat hanger. And I've done that several times. It cuts very well. But one of the big dangers is you have to have these in perfectly. So in the beginning, I had the one side in pretty good, and the other side I thought was in good as well, but it did not cut at all, hardly at all. It was essentially just bending the metal. I could close this and I could just see this just bending this metal right here, not really even cutting. So you have to be extremely careful that you have these screws tightened in all the way. I mean, they can be very tight and it's still not ready. You need to be able to easily pull these plier heads down into the body before these cutters will actually work. So before, again, I thought I had these tightened in all the way. I don't want to break anything, but the plier head was not collapsing very well. It was catching on the screw. And when I tightened these cutters in all the way, it made a world of difference, a huge difference. So with it tightened correctly, with this out of the way at the bottom, it does turn your Gerber into a lot better cutting machine. I still feel like it's a lot less comfortable on this handle, especially because you're squeezing so hard than, for instance, the this is the Swiss Tech Surge clone essentially, but I feel like these handles with the rolled edges are actually a lot more comfortable to use, and they actually work pretty good cutting coat hanger right here at the bottom and with minimal impact on your hand. But I have to say, this is night and day with the Gerber. It does make a huge difference. But again, you have got to make sure those are tightened down really, really tight. So unfortunately, I have some really bad news for you. I made a community post about a pocket clip that would work with Byberry, maybe Swiss Tech DL Camping, all these tools. It was supposed to be a pocket clip, and unfortunately, it doesn't work. Now, one of you, I think, had already mentioned this to me. You said, be careful. And I thought, well, we'll see. You know, I wasn't sure. Some people don't do it correctly. Again, not to disparage anyone, but I'm just saying sometimes there's maybe a trick to it. But the notch in here is far off where this notch is in the middle. So I don't know if they made a bad batch, but essentially you would almost have to have it like this for it to work, which is ridiculous. So if you have bought this pocket clip and you wonder why it doesn't work, you're not the only one. I would just send it back. I think it was $8 or so. I probably will keep mine because different times what I do, I actually use it for other tools. So for instance, on this Gerber center drive, this came off of a utility knife, I think, but I could probably use this on my Gerber center drive. I could put some 3M, some of that very sticky tape on the back here, or I could even drill a little indentation that this would fit in, and then you essentially have a pocket clip for your Gerber center drive. So I do keep pocket clips like this. They're not a waste to me because then I just use it for another tool. But unfortunately, I don't know what this clip even works for. I was thinking maybe the Ozark Trail, maybe that's more what it works for, but all these tools right here, the Surge Clone style, no, it won't work. So unfortunately, that's a dud. Now, some time ago, I saw people talk about a screwdriver inserts for your lighter. Now, I don't use the lighter for anything except starting campfires, but I thought this was a very cool idea, and I believe on AliExpress I even found this holder, this leather holder right here that you can attach to your belt. I know this doesn't have a snap, but you can attach it to your belt, and then essentially in your lighter you can have this Leatherman screwdriver bit kit, and I thought that's really, really cool. So you can buy your lighter, and then off of eBay, you can get this insert right here that you put inside the lighter, and then it has a magnetic part right there where it catches, and then you open and so forth. But I made a really big error. So what I did is I went on Etsy, and I thought, why should I pay a Zippo lighter price for just the case when I can buy all these cheaper lighters off of Etsy with designs on them and just yank out the insides? So that's what I did. I bought one of these cheap lighters off of Etsy. And then when I tried to put the insert in, I didn't realize that they are a little bit too small or too short. They look exactly like a Zippo, but they are not the same dimensions. So the Zippo insert from eBay does not work. I actually had to cut down the ends, butcher it all up, and it was a disaster. So now the insert from eBay costs like $22 by itself. A Zippo lighter can cost, depending on what kind you get, I know you can get cheaper ones, but any design, they cost a lot more. So it can be a very expensive alternative. It's pretty cool if it actually would work great, but unfortunately I tried to cut corners and it ended up being a big disappointment. So that's another thing you really want to be watchful for. Again, it really is expensive. Costs add up really quick by the time you add the outside of the lighter, the Zippo outside container, then you add the insert for $22. And then if you want this, I think this might be another $10. So you could easily probably spend $50 for a Leatherman bit holder. Now, if you like this, you love this, then that's fine. Go for it. But I did want to make you aware, don't cut corners. You just go with the Zippo outside lighter because these cheap ones do not work. So these are 3 mistakes or misunderstandings I had about different multi-tool tools. I would love if you would add some more lessons you have learned below in the comments to help the community out. Maybe something would help us to avoid some of these mistakes that can be so easily made, maybe save a couple bucks here and there. I would really appreciate it.